So it's the day after the night before, as Forest drew at Molineux, 1 apiece with Wolves. But how's everyone feeling after a night's sleep? And is it as bad or as good as everyone's making it out to be? Let's get the opinion of the panelists, and as always, what you guys are saying in the chat. Welcome to Grumpy Old Reds. Good morning, good evening, or good night. I hope you guys are well, and welcome to Grumpy Old Reds, where we've got a lot to cover off tonight. There's a lot of varying opinions, varying emotions. I'm sounding like another YouTuber now. Emotions and what you guys are thinking in the chat. Let's start it off with a quick thank you to Taylor. Thank you so much for becoming a member. You absolute legend. And Martino, thank you for becoming a member as well, bro. Start getting your thoughts in the chat. Which way do we want to swing this, chat? Do we want to start with positivity or anger or confusion? Let's kick it off with positivity. Rob, I was just reading.
Come to me.
Last on the list, man.
Right. I hope everybody can see what I've put under my name there. So
read it out. Read it out for those listening on the podcast.
Hashtag be kind, token Cooper loyalist. So I'm now going to do my job. But just remember, we're all humans. There's a human on the end of this, right? So I was.
The politician have a human inside him. Come on, Rob, man.
Get on with it, you prick.
Right. So I was all seriously fired up for Cooper's last game yesterday. Actually, I did manage to watch the game in full, even though I don't live in Australia. I haven't managed to order anything from Hungry Jack's yet, but I'm going to find a way because they're really tasty. Night and day compared to the Fulham game. Night and day. Couldn't have been more different. And leaving aside the 1 point in 12 or however you want to look at it, in context of this season, that was a very good result. I think they said on Match of the Day yesterday, Wolves had not lost at home in 3 months. So the idea that we're going to turn up and beat them is a bit fanciful, even if we were playing well. With everything that's been going on, that was a very good result. And what more importantly, the manager seems to have found 11 players that will play for him, which I thought was impossible. After the Fulham game, I joined in with the rest of you in the general hysteria that it was all over, because I have not seen such a bad performance for years. I mean, it was worse than Leicester away last season. You know, that Fulham game was... So we're coming from rock bottom. So, you know, the only way was up. But, I mean, when they announced the team, I was thinking, my God, the tinkering is off the scale now. This is the final tinker. I was actually relieved to see it was 3-5-2. I'd been wanting that, and I kind of wish he'd done it for the Fulham game. As soon as I saw Turner back in goal, my immediate sense was relief. Welcome back, my friend. I'm sorry, and you know, don't leave me again. He looked confident. You know, he wasn't getting closed down. He wasn't doing the howlers. He looked confident. Made some good saves. We seem to have signed some world-class midfielder called Czech Coyote. It looked to me like someone had gone back in time 10 years and kidnapped Yaya Toure and put him in a Forest shirt. I could not believe it. When I saw that team selection, I thought, that is just ridiculous tinkering. Why is that clapped out old piece of crap in the team? I've not seen him do anything good for Forest for at least a year since he scored that header in was it the Bournemouth game or something? I haven't seen anything. I was expecting him to have such a bad game, and then he nicked the ball and set up our goal, and then he nearly scored, catching that defender in possession. He was all over the place, winning tackles, winning headers, and it really annoyed me that he got that stupid booking for dissent, because then he had to come off. Because once he got that booking for dissent, he was like a walking red card. He had to come off. I would have liked to see him play the full 90 minutes. So, we have to
Rob,
give.
he had to come off because he's got no legs, Rob. He's not
Okay,
sustainable.
fair enough.
He wouldn't have sustained it.
It's just I felt nervous once he got the yellow card because I just thought this could all go to shit if he gets booked again. He was pulling out tackles a little bit after that. I thought Nico Williams. I thought the wing backs were great, but I've not seen Nico Williams play that well. He was scrapping. He was winning the ball. He was bringing it forward. The crosses were raining in. I've not seen so many crosses in a game that I couldn't remember in the last year. I mean, there wasn't anyone on the end of it. I'm not pretending this is before a perfect performance, right? We won the ball a lot. We broke Wolves down a lot, but then we really squandered possession too many times for my liking. There was a point where Elanga could have put Gibbs White through, and he tried to take the man on the outside, and I was screaming at him. So we kept winning the ball and then just giving it away again. But we took the lead. I wouldn't be too harsh on them for the Wolves goal. I mean, it's the Premier League. The other teams are going to score. It was a slick move. They finished it well. It's probably a deserved 1-1. But over the game, I don't think it was a boring game like you said. I thought it was an entertaining game because I thought we were competitive. I think we had the better chances. Obviously, we hit the bar and offside. But, Toffolo could have won it with that header.
Should have. Ain't going to finish.
So for me, big difference were the players were fired up for it, and we looked competitive. We scored a goal away from home, and we didn't lose. That's 3 positives for me. Now, I know that the 4 of you are looking at this through shit-tinted glasses and are just going to basically find misery wherever you look. And
you're trying to preempt again. So
I'm just telling everybody what's going to follow now. Remember, it's called Grumpy Old Reds, so they have to say this. But I mean, what I would say is that I think that the 4-3-3 has to go in the bottom drawer until we've signed a striker and we've got a 1-year fit. I would like to go back to it very much, but you can't just base it around a 1 year. You need a second striker as well, because these games are lasting. Some of them lasting for 100 minutes now. So if you're going to play 4-3-3, you can't have a 1 year for 70 minutes and then Chris Wood for 40. You need another striker. Yeah. So and also I think we just need to be a little bit higher up the table before we go back to that formation. I actually think that we've got to remember that a lot of the players were signed for a 3-5-2 formation. Yes, a lot were signed for a 4-3-3. So clearly Sangare, Dominguez were bought to play that 4-3-3, right? But, we don't need to worry about having crap wingers if we've got good wing backs. I thought the creativity from the wing backs was good. I mean, you want to have someone on the end of it. That's what we need next. But final thing is I think that the 3-5-2 really suits Murillo. It really suits him. Having Bolly and Niakate either side of him, he can then progress the ball, and he can almost work as like a CDM. He can bring the ball out, and then you can actually have more attacking midfielders than those three, potentially. You could
I don't disagree with that.
You could be playing Hudson-Odoi or Gibbs White or Dominguez in the centre there once you've got Murillo sweeping up behind. I'm not sure that Mangala is really a CDM, anyway. So I thought as you described, he pulled something out of his arse, didn't he? He did pull the rabbit out of the hat. Now, I'm not saying don't straw man me when you go next, but I'm not saying keep Cooper unconditionally.
No.
Keep him to the end of the season. I'm not saying he's the greatest manager ever, but I want to see that team and that manager go out against Tottenham, because I think that that's our best chance of getting a result from that game, right? One game at a time now. One game. I know he's living on borrowed time. You almost have me convinced. I feel a bit guilty about it now. I think that he can turn it around. I would like to see him give him the Spurs game.
In isolation, Rob, you're giving a very good account of yesterday's performance, but it's not in isolation. That's 1 point out of the last 15. Does it really change that much after yesterday's one? I agree. It's a great result at any point of the season away at Wolves under the form they're in. I didn't really expect anything, to be honest. I'm not one of those who wanted us to lose. I don't think that makes any sense whatsoever. It goes along the same line of booing your own team for me. I would never want my team to lose under any circumstance. But in isolation, you've given a very good account of one game. Does that one game for you, and it sounds like it does, change your thought process from the conversation we had on Thursday night, was it, when we went to meet Mark Crosley? Yeah, we had a conversation then, and you seem to be in a different headspace, and I feel like that one result has totally flipped you back. Is that the case, or is it that you're more hopeful after seeing that game?
Right, so if we'd got thrashed yesterday, if it had been Fulham again, I would be calling for him to go, right? But it's I'd say I'm back on the fence, and it's not just me; it's Marinakis as well. I think Marinakis' thought process is exactly where mine is. I really do. I think Marinakis can't make his mind up either.
Do you genuinely think so?
Rob, if we lose to Spurs 4-0, where's your head going to be at?
Oh yeah, sack. I'm on the fence. It's one game at a time. What I'm saying is,
that's not sustainable.
I want that team to go out with that attitude and that system and that level of desire against Tottenham. I want to. For me, that's our best chance of getting a result from that game.
All right, Rob. They do that and they lose 4-0. Where's your head at?
Sacking.
Okay, so the desire means nothing.
So he's one bad result away, basically. So, Rob, for you, he's one bad result away.
Yeah, I think he's on life support, definitely. Let's be realistic.
All right, I wanna bring out Ant. Are you there?
Yes, mate.
What is Ant doing?
What are you doing?
I'm having a fag. Bloody hell.
Bloody hell, sounds like
I was letting Rob have his say. Without interruptions. I was letting him have his say.
Thank you. I've finished.
Yeah. Because Rob was bullied last time, weren't you, Rob?
Yeah, we went 4-1, didn't we?
I'm surprised he came back. Okay, so I don't want you to react to what Rob said. I want everyone to have their opening gambit, and then we'll start nitpicking from everyone's conversations. So go on, Ant. Floor's yours, mate.
Well, after the game yesterday, I wasn't really that angry. I was just kind of numb and fed up. Okay, but I've slept on it, and I've woken up angry, unfortunately. I've heard so much claptrap, right? I respect every Forest fan, and every Forest fan's opinion.
Except Rob.
What I don't like, there's a couple of little things before I get on to the main event. I don't like other fans calling us negative. It's not negative to want the best for your club. Yeah, that's not negative. We want the best for our club, right? If we happen to disagree on who the manager should be, that's a difference of opinion. Doesn't mean we're negative, right? So stop with the negative bollocks. Right. I am as shocked and amazed that people have fallen for this 1-1 against Wolves. We were shit. It was a crap game. They were crap. We were crap. It was crap. That is not sustainable. And are you saying that after a year and a half in the Premier League, we think it's good enough to go back to where we were, desperately trying to cling on for a 0-0 in most games? You think that that's progression? You think that that's sustainable? You think that shows a manager's quality? No, I'm sorry. I've been very respectful for a long time, and I've tried to hold back in the hope, like a lot of us, in the hope Steve Cooper can pull it round. He is not going to pull it round. He is not going to pull this club round. We will continue with him playing low block, trying to scrape results with the team that he thought was not good enough previously, but he's brought these boys in, and yes, they gave their all. Big fucking deal. Big fucking deal. We've got players that will give their all. Wow. That's going to get us into, mid-table or wherever we think we deserve to be or where we think we could be. No, it ain't going to do it. All it's going to do is maintain us in relegation scrap for the rest of the season. I'm sorry, but I'm firm on this. The time has come. He has to go. Forest fans out there that are still massively Cooper in, please try and put sentiment aside and look at the reality. You know what? It's got to the stage now where Crystal Palace and West Ham are shitting themselves that they might get Steve Cooper. What is that telling you? The man is not good enough at Premier League level. Sentiment aside, if this guy had just come in, right, Steve Cooper had left us after the promotion, and we'd bought Chris Hughton in, and he was playing, and we had exactly the same results as we're having now, would you all be saying, keep him in, he deserves another chance? No, you would say, get him gone, because he's a negative, boring tactician who relies on passion and 10 at the fucking back. I want that no more. I am done. He must go, and go quickly.
Crypto. Opening gambit.
So I can understand why Cooper went 5 at the back yesterday. I think he had to do it more for himself than the team. He obviously believed that would work, and in some way it did. I mean, there were a few positives the first 15 minutes or so, and I think the second half were actually pretty good. They were a bit better than we played recently. The thing that really gets me, and it's happened time and again, and he hasn't learned from it, is when we go a goal ahead with 75, 80 minutes left in the match, he goes into low block. And he must know by now. Everyone can see it. It doesn't work. You invite so much pressure onto you. If you're playing well enough to get an early goal, then why don't you just carry on like that and try to get more goals and try to kill off the game? Look at Spurs today. Look at Villa yesterday. I know they're a different, in a different league as such, but they don't just score a goal and then sit back for 90 minutes and try to defend it. There were definitely positives yesterday, but I don't understand why we can't play like we did in the second half. It took us conceding for us to then start playing football again. Yes. And that, for me, is the most frustrating thing. And I genuinely can't understand how many times it's going to happen, because it happens a lot this season. Another thing that was frustrating is I saw a few people on Twitter and stuff saying that, we're negative, etc. It's not us who are being negative. It's Cooper with his negative tactics. You don't need to defend so hard after going 1-0 up. There's literally no need for it. Another thing I saw is that people were saying, "Oh, so he hasn't lost the dressing room." Yesterday, he made 7 changes. Let's be honest. He pretty much put out a championship team. I think he has lost the dressing room, and unfortunately, I think he's lost it to the players who are probably on paper our best players. For me, he's lost the likes of Sangare and Dominguez. There must be a reason why they're sat on the bench behind Yates and Chiarte. Chiarte, for me, yesterday was shocking. I've criticised Worrell and Wood a lot before. Chiarte is we don't talk about him because he never gets to play, but trust me, he's 10 times shitter than Wood and Worrell put together. He's not a good football player. He just runs around the pitch and does absolutely nothing for me. Yates yesterday, he just go around pushing people. He's literally there. Yates, for me, is like an enforcer in ice hockey, where he just runs around and gets on people's nerves, pushes people around, etc. And I don't want to take away from the positives in the game, because I do think we played okay. But like I say, unfortunately, it was the negative tactics again that took us back into low block when we could have just continued on and probably got the win, because Wolves weren't playing that well. I have no idea why we just sit back. And you can almost guarantee that they're going to score, because you can't expect the players to handle so much pressure for that long. But yeah, I mean, there's a few things I do agree with Rob on. I think, the formation, Cooper had to do it to effectively try to save his job, and the lineup as well. But he could have kicked on and said, let's try and win the game. And it doesn't look like that's what he's actually trying to do.
Just before I bring Ez on his opening gambit, Sharky, thank you for the £2, bro. Rob made my mind up. Cooper out. Thanks, Rob. No wonder you didn't get elected, Rob. What's going on?
I'm just pleased he's wearing a tie when he trolls me. I think it's important to be smart.
He's smart. He's smart, mate.
Go ahead, Ez. Your opening thoughts.
Opening thoughts. We did the call-in last night, and it was a good opportunity to hear what the fans were thinking. And we had a good range of opinions out there. My opinion is, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really change anything. He managed to get a tune out of a group of players yesterday, which I don't understand why he's not been able to do that for the others. There's still major problems behind the scenes, and it's been a cover-up for a long time. Cooper's always said, you know, we're a unit, we work together, and it's not the case. It's not the case. We can go player by player, we can go individual by individual, but look at what happened with O'Brien last season. Look at what happened with Dennis last season, with Scarpa, with all these players, with Bardet, all these players that didn't suit Cooper's thinking, didn't suit Cooper's ideas, and didn't really buy into what we were trying to do. And it's the same, it's carried over this season. I don't see any change really. He's managed to get a tune out of a few players yesterday, and they did the bare minimum, I believe. I don't think we should get overhyped about that performance yesterday. It was decent, but it was just decent. It wasn't a great performance, and Wolves were poor. You know, if they decided to go up another gear, they could have had us. I believe they've got the quality of players there. They're missing one or two key players, but at the same time, I think they've got more of an idea of how they want to play, and that's what's missing from Nottingham Forest. Yesterday, Steve Cooper reverted back to type for me. I kind of called for it a few games earlier because I could see where we were going with it, but he didn't change it. He didn't change anything. And it took it for it to be literally what many people believed was his last chance saloon for him to change something. For me, it doesn't change anything in the broader picture. For me, we still need a new manager. We need a new style of play. We need somebody else giving those players a kick up the arse. And players have got a lot to answer for. But it's not going to fix itself with that manager in charge, unfortunately. He's just lost. For me, he's lost the respect of the majority of the dressing room. And if he can't keep that unit together, then as a manager, he's not done his job. He's not done his job. He says all the right things. And for me, you know, I'm not here to slag him off. And I don't think that's what we are here to do. I'm only speaking for myself on this, but I don't hate Cooper at all. I would never say that. But I don't want him to. He's ruining his legacy right now. I'd rather he left and we just got on with it, because I think his time's up. He's done as much as he can do. He can't take us any further forward. Maybe I'm asking for too much, but finishing 17th isn't good enough for me this season. It might be for some Forest fans, and I think it is for a minority of Forest fans, but not for me. Not for me.
Yeah. Excuse me. Just on this, David, two Cooper in presenters could be fair balance, Orphy. I'm happy to have 5.
Yeah.
Just only Rob wants to come on. So if you're Cooper in, David, or anyone else,
is there any wonder? Can I come back on a couple of points? Can I come back on 2 or 3 points?
Yeah, you can. Just give me 1 second. Sure. Jimmy, I assume you're finally going to show your face tomorrow after the slappings you've had over the last couple of weeks, yeah? And just save yourself and hold, have some dignity and shame still left in you while you're still
such a cheeky git, Jimmy.
You haven't even got past Derby's points yet. Yeah,
exactly.
We're all still rooting for you. We're all still rooting for you and worried about it, Jimmy. Yeah. So don't come in here swinging just because you fluked a 1-0 with a deflected goal. The goal was all right, actually. But come on, man. Come on, have some shame. Go on, Rob. You want to come back on a couple of things?
Yeah. So first point, you said we need a new manager because you can't bear to watch low block. You can't bear to watch 5-3-2. You're worried that we're going further back in that direction. Mm-hmm. Who is to say that a new manager would not come straight in and play those tactics? Where's your guarantee?
Because you'd have that conversation.
That's not an excuse, Robin. You know it. It's not an excuse. A new manager might do this. What if I said to you, a new manager might come in and take us to the title?
Right. I'm asking this back to Wolverine, right? Because he likes to put together some very spiky questions for me. I'm asking this back, right? So if a new manager comes in, Lopetegui or whoever it is, and they set up the first team exactly like that, 5-3-2, and they play low block, what are you going to say? Are you going to start running cover for it? Are you going to start running cover for it? Are you going to say, oh, this is unacceptable, I don't want to see this? What are you going to say?
Okay, so 2 points on that. One, the only guarantee is that with Cooper in charge, that is the way he's going to play. Yeah? So there is no guarantee that a new manager comes in and plays that way. Secondly, Marinakis doesn't like this style of football. at all. So he's not going to recruit a manager who's like, you can bracket them, can't you? You can bracket Cooper, Moyes, Dyche to a certain extent. You know, those kind of managers all have that similar trait of low block counter attack. So you know by the manager of their style, that's going to happen. Now, if a manager came in and was low blocking, I am not anti counter attacking football, Rob. That's my key point. Yeah. I'm anti low block with no tactics and just pray that you can punt a ball forward and get it to one of our pacey players. That for me isn't tactics. Now, if a manager comes in who has some direction, a mid block, a counter attacking team, I'd even go as far as to say Cooper style in the Championship, we were never an all out attacking team. We would absorb certain parts of the pitches, then release Jed Spencer. You'd see overlaps with him and Brennan Johnson. There was more style and tactics there. What we have now is long ball FC, long ball FC, long ball FC. And when Cooper's tried to go to a fullback and play progressive football, well, we haven't won a game. So what does that tell me?
Villa. We did beat Villa with 4 at the back.
Huh?
We did beat Villa with 4 at the back.
Yeah, but why? Because we played
the long ball over the top.
Balls over the top.
Sorry, go on. Anyway, I was
not only that, Villa's away record is atrocious, by the way.
Yeah, but so that's my point. So if someone comes in and they want to play low block, now it depends. If it's low block Cooper style, then we've changed nothing. If he comes in and he wants to play counter-attacking football as the first stepping stone, I have no problem with that. I have no problem with Cooper wanting to adapt in that style. But he has tried over the last 12 games and has only succeeded once. And he can't do it. He can't do it.
So a couple of things. You're saying that Marinakis doesn't want to see that formation. Why then have we signed players that look to me like they're for that formation? Right. So
you think Dominguez?
Right.
I think Dominguez is that.
No, okay, but Gonzalo Montiel is not a fullback. Nuno Tavares is not a fullback. Nico Williams is not a fullback. Yeah. Okay. So we've actually got players that suit that. So I think that with the exception of the total lack of quality strikers, apart from one man, right? We have got a big enough squad. We've got an overly large squad. We've got people out on loan all over the world, right? We've actually bought for both systems, yeah, and so I'm not sure that what you're saying is necessarily true, because the recruitment would seem to suggest that we're hedging our bets a bit, and I know that 2 of the people I just mentioned are on loan, right? But it looks to me like they were continuing to recruit based around maybe needing to play that tactic away from home, and then play 4 at home. It would be nice, But so that's the first point. The second point is, I think
let me answer that point first. Let's go.
What you've just effectively said as well is, if a new manager comes in, picks the same team, plays 5-3-2 defensively on Friday, it's fine if he does it, but it's not if Cooper does it. Now I think that's double standard.
That is not what I said. Now you're straw manning my argument.
Yes, absolutely, I am. It's your turn, right? So right, tell me how that isn't double standards. Tell me how that isn't double standard.
Where did I say that? I said, firstly, he wouldn't recruit a manager in the same ilk as Cooper. And secondly, my point was, I'm not adverse to counter-attacking football. There's a big difference between low block and counter-attacking football. Huge difference. Low block is park the bus, put 10 men behind the ball. Counter-attacking football has tactics behind it. That's the difference. But back to your first point, I half agree with what you say about the recruitment, that we've recruited for both systems, but I would split it down the middle. The first set of recruitment in the early summer was for a 5-back, but the second half wasn't. When you look at Dominguez, King of Press is his nickname, isn't it? Sangare, he's not a low block player. We brought in wingers. You can't fit wingers in a 5-3-1-1 formation. We got Callum Hudson-Odoi and Alanga in, although Alanga was quite early. So I think the recruitment was split into 2 halves when it came into the window, and the tactics shifted from, oh crap, I don't want low block, into I want to try a back 4. And you got your finger up, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just want to clear something up very quickly, because I get very confused about this. Because half the time, the Cooper let's call them, what can we call them that's not derogatory? Because I don't want to be insulting.
It would be nice if you could think of something.
Those that favour keeping Cooper. I get confused, because half the time they're saying, well, it's not his fault because the recruitment has been wrong from Marinakis. He's not got the players that Cooper wanted. And then the other half are saying the opposite. They're saying that Cooper is only brought in players that suit his style. So have we brought in players that suit his style, or have we brought in a load of players that aren't fit for what Cooper wants?
I think we've done both. It's been shotgun, hasn't it? I think we've signed too many players, and I think they've tried to cover off all bases.
Rob,
were you disappointed? Were you disappointed with the transfer window? Be honest.
I think I was pleased with it, but I'm disappointed with some of the signings since then. I thought it was good. I thought it was a good window. I wish it hadn't been done at 5 to midnight. But I mean, we'll come on to this later. I think that brinkmanship is how they run this club now, and that's why most
people, though, Rob. Most people. I'm not saying everybody. Assuming everybody's fit and playing at their best, most people have said that I've seen have said that Sangare, Mangala, and Dominguez is a really good midfield.
Yeah.
So why can our manager not get them to work? Surely it's the manager's responsibility. They're good players, mate. They're good players.
I know that central three on paper, and certainly when it started, is definitely better than the three we put out yesterday. Even though Mangala is one of the three, right? But I think the part of the problem is lack of anything in front of them, right? I mean, that's what's happened since the Iwanye injury, right? I mean, it's great. You win the ball. Who are you going to play it to? Chris Wood's standing behind you. You know, I mean...
Yeah, but Rob, yesterday...
I get that, but can we put it all down to one player missing?
Hold on, let me get Crypto in there. Go on.
Yeah, Crypto, jump in.
Yesterday, we played the 5 at the back, but we were still attacking. What lost us, not lost us, what drew us the game and what stopped us from winning was telling the players after scoring 1 goal early on to sit back. Now the 5 at the back for me, okay, I understand that's Cooper's safety net. I didn't have a problem with that. But even at 5 at the back, we were still attacking. So whether you play 5 at the back or 4 at the back, yesterday showcased that we can still go on the attack, we can still score goals. I mean, the whole of the second half, there was no low block really, apart from the last few minutes, which is fair enough, where you don't want to lose the game. But why did he bring all the players back and try and hold on to a 1-0 lead for 75 minutes?
Can I answer that? So, firstly, thank you for noticing that in the second half, we were on the front foot and we looked more like we wanted to win it. I actually felt that, and I haven't felt that.
That's only because we conceded. If it was still 1-0, we would have been sat back.
Okay, so I've watched. So on this Premier League coverage, which I managed to watch somehow, they love the stat that Forest have dropped more points from winning positions than any other team, right? And that is a real sort of hoodoo, you know, a bit like the away form, a bit like so I think that that's in the back of their minds because people keep repeating that, right? And it was the same last year. I mean, weren't we like 2-0 up against Bournemouth at home? Or was it Fulham? And we lost.
No, Bournemouth at home.
Yeah, I mean, we were 2-0 up at Man United. So you know, I think the other thing is, you know, any football manager will tell you that you are never more vulnerable than just after you've scored, because you lose the concentration. You're still in the euphoria. And then, you know, it gives the other team a lift. They want to come back. They want to equalize straight away. So I think it's natural that they think, shit, we're in front. Don't just let a goal in straight away. Yeah.
But you know, it's
very difficult. And what I'm saying is, I'm not sure that Cooper necessarily told them, oh, go and defend now.
But
I
Rob,
think it's the psychology of 11 men.
To be the case.
Somebody in the chat just said, how do you know they told them to sit back? Because it happens every single time we go early, we immediately revert to low block. Whereas other teams in the league, like today, like yesterday, they go 1-0 up and they carry on and try and get a second goal. We don't do that. And
look at Bournemouth yesterday.
Well, okay. It's easy to say.
Let me finish this one point. You say that after you score a goal, it's the hardest time where you might concede another one. So then why do we all of a sudden need to invite all the pressure on us at that point? Why not just carry on playing the football game? If 1-0 is the worst time to concede another one, then why do we invite all of their players onto us for the next 20 minutes?
Let me
I
give
think
you
I
the
saw this in
response
the
there,
point
Rob,
as
and then
well.
I'll bring Hans in. I'll bring you in on that point as
Yeah,
well.
okay,
But
mate. Yeah, no worries.
do you take Crypto's point there that it's a recurring theme, and you never see, because to answer Mark's question, how do you know they're being told? Because then not being told not to, if you see what I mean by the dugout. That would be my answer to that. But do you take his point there, Rob?
I do. I think that it's easier to stay on the front foot if you hadn't lost your last 4 games. So I think it's just more a question of collective
It's not in
psychology.
isolation, though, Rob.
I know. I think it's more a question of collective psychology. It's like, shit, we've got the goal now. What do we do? And I just think it's just it. I'm not convinced that they were told to sit back. I think it's more a case that they've got something to lose. They've got
So
something
then
to
they
lose.
should be told to get forward. If they're not, let's say they're not
I
told to
agree.
sit back.
I
They should be
agree.
told to
But
get forward.
it is easy for us to say. I actually agree with you 100%. It's just
Yeah.
very it's very
it's
easy for us to say.
It's frustrating because it's happened so many times. I
Exactly.
can understand if it happened once or twice, but they know, whether you believe it's Cooper, the management, or the players, whoever decision it is to sit back, they know it's not going to work. And if it isn't Cooper's decision, then he should be the person on the sideline going mad at them to get forward.
That was my point, Rob. Hang on, Rob.
Yeah, let me get Ant in now.
Very, very quickly. If you're saying, this is direct to you, Rob. If you're saying that you think it may be the players, doesn't matter. It's still the manager's responsibility to get those players playing the way he wants. That is not an excuse saying the players aren't doing what he wants, or how do you know they're doing what he wants? That's not an excuse. He's the manager.
Morgan Gibbs-White said after the game, we stuck to the plan. They've said that so many times where we've scored and then gone into low block. It's clearly the plan from the management. It's clearly the plan. If it wasn't the plan, it wouldn't happen.
Crypto. Even if it's not, it's up to the manager to make them do his plan.
Yeah.
That's his job.
Yeah, but Crypto's point is that they did do the plan. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, no,
Ben.
I'm saying either way around, which way you look at it, it's the manager's responsibility, is what I'm saying. He's either telling them to do that or telling them to do something else and they're not doing that. And it's his job to get them to do that.
I just want to acknowledge a comment. Someone keeps writing, how do you know it's the manager's choice? Cooper has said literal words, low block, before. He knows he plays low block. He said it in post-match interviews. He hasn't said, oh, it's defense. He's literally said the 2 words, low block. That is their style of play. And that is what frustrates me. If yesterday we'd have carried on attacking, I would have praised them. I think they were playing pretty well, as I said, in the first 15 minutes, second half. It would have been a good performance. Even with 5 at the back, you would have got it right. But the negative play between scoring. And so yesterday, from the 14th minute, right, after we scored, till half time, the commentator on the telly said that we had 14% possession. 14%. That's not good enough in the Premier League.
And just to add, before I let you guys come back in, Crypto did an interview. Cooper did an interview towards the end of last season where we were on that kind of determined streak where we were getting towards survival, where he was almost talking like he was writing a new philosophy in football. And he was saying about how having the ball doesn't necessarily need to be the be all and end all of it and letting teams come onto you. It's literally his words, and I'm paraphrasing them, obviously, but they were literally his words in those interviews. So that's how you know it's coming from the manager, because the manager himself, as Crypto saying, he's called it low block. He's literally talked about rewriting footballing philosophy without having a football. Those are his words. Just very quickly, we've got well over 400 of you in here. Thank you for chilling with us this Sunday evening. Please make sure you've hit that like button if you haven't already. And make sure you're subscribed if you're new to Forest Fan TV. It's completely free to do. I want to bring Ez in. We haven't heard for Ez for a few minutes. What's your thoughts on that kind of general discussion before we move on to the next point?
Sorry, I missed. I had to go move the car. Sorry, I missed all that discussion. So move on.
It's okay. Let's just move it forward then. Ez, is it enough to have 1 point and kick on? Because I did a video earlier where what I said in the video was whether you're Cooper in or Cooper out, I think this indecisiveness, and I'm gonna call it out from Marinakis at the moment, this fence sitting is not healthy for the club. And I don't know if you in the chat would agree, regardless of if you're Cooper in or Cooper out. Do you not think it's getting to the stage now, Ez, where he either needs to back him or sack him so that we can all move on and make our peace with it, whatever way it goes, and get back to arguing about, what a great shot that was. What a crap shot that was.
Yeah, get back to arguing about formations and lineups, and
Yeah.
instead of who should be in charge. Yeah, actually, I'll use a sticking plaster analogy. I think you just got to rip it off. I think even those who are sitting on the fence, the fact that they're sitting on the fence says quite a lot, and I think Marinakis knows what he wants to do. I just think he's waiting for the right time, and if he keeps waiting, then the right time will never come. He just needs to do it. For me, the fact that we're having this discussion on every single game, anytime, Rob's kind of said it already. If he gets a bad result against Spurs, which is more than possible, it's more than possible. The way they played today, okay, I know they're coming to the world famous, but the way they played today, mate, I wouldn't put it past them getting a result against us come Friday. So if that's the case, then the decision's already been made. Then really, hasn't it? It's just deciding the time to pull that trigger. So for me, I think we need to kind of like get back united as Forest fans and not this faction, all these factions that have been created. And we've had our opinions, and it just happens to be that the majority of us on FFTV or Grumpy or Reds do feel a similar way, but we don't agree with everything from each other. We argue. We'll have a debate. Yeah, we certainly don't script it. Can't you tell? The fact of the matter is that we have all got our own opinions, but some of our opinions have aligned. But that's not to say all we want is Cooper out and then let's see what happens. We want there to be a game plan going forward. I don't want Marinakis to be making a knee-jerk reaction. And hopefully he hasn't. And hopefully he's had the foresight to be thinking that this could arise after what happened last season. After what happened last season and the kind of runs we went on where he was considering pulling the trigger, then he has a short list in mind. He has types of play from managers that he wants to bring in. And he just needs to do it sooner or later because it's inevitable that every single bad result we have, Cooper's going to be asked that question. It's not good for his own mental health. And like I say, I don't hate Cooper. I don't want him to fail, but I don't want to be tricked into thinking that the only way forward is with Cooper at the helm. I see through it. Unfortunately, I see through it. He's had his time. He's had more time than any other manager in recent years, and he's done well with the time that he's had, but he can't take us to that next step. And I desperately, with a lot of Nottingham Forest fans, want to see us make that next step. I don't want another relegation battle this season and just staying up. I want something more. Shoot me down if that is going to cost us, but wanting more shouldn't make me any less of a Forest fan than anybody else. But my ambition is that we succeed, and I just don't think we've got the manager to do that. So for me, I just do it. I think Marinakis already knows what he wants to do. He's just waiting for the right time, and I think the longer he takes, the harder that decision is going to be. But he needs to do it for me.
Yeah, just for bringing you in, and Andrew, I will see you in the comments. Thank you so much for becoming a member, and evening to you as well, buddy. We do appreciate it. Warren with the £2. Thank you so much, Wazza. I'm still in, boys. I'm afraid. I get you, as I wouldn't say you're afraid, Warren. If that's your feeling, then that's your feeling. I will still say that I haven't met an inner who hasn't given me a non-sentimental argument. I'd probably say Michael yesterday came the closest. No offense, Rob. Michael came the closest yesterday.
He was good, by the way. Get him on.
He was very good.
He's the first guy on the phone in, wasn't he? Yeah. Get him on. I need an ally. Please. If you're watching, come on.
You got allies here, mate. You got allies here.
Out there. Anyone is welcome to come on the panel. Well, anyone who's a diehard Cooper in, we'd love to have you on the panel. Mark, I don't know if you're around, Mark. I know you're in the chat, but if you're free and want to jump in to balance the equation, feel free to just send me a quick WhatsApp. And just on that point, then, what do you think about this whole indecisiveness from Marinakis?
Just before I do that, I've got a bit of advice. Steve Cooper is a nice guy, and he says all the right things.
Birthday, by the way.
He tells everybody how passionate he is about the club, how he loves the city, blah blah blah. My advice to anybody that's solidly Cooper in is stop watching the press conferences, stop reading interviews by Steve Cooper, and go purely on what your eyes are seeing on the pitch and what the table is showing you in print. Try that. Try just not listening to Steve, what Steve's saying. Because when I listen to him stay, I think I want this manager to be here forever. And then reality kicks in, and I look at the style of play and I look at the table. I think, oh, actually, no, he's not very good, is he? So try getting rid of that. Don't watch any more interviews or read any more of his statements, and then make a decision on facts and reality. Right. Sorry, what was your question, Wolfie? Sorry.
Marinakis and this whole 1 foot in, 1 foot out thing.
I can't help thinking, and I might be wrong, we don't actually know for certain. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I don't think that he wants to sack Steve Cooper and have a vacuum there. I don't think he wants that. I think he wants his manager in place to bring in as soon as Steve Cooper goes. And that, to me, is a sensible thing to do. Okay? So that's where I think he's at. I think things are happening. I don't know this, by the way, but I can only imagine things are happening behind the scenes, because I'm telling you guys, he's not happy and he's not going to put up with this. And as everybody said, this is a stay of execution. And that is exactly what it is, a stay of execution. You can't, that's not sustainable. You can't go on like that for weeks and weeks and weeks. As we've said, what if he loses against Tottenham? What if he wins against Tottenham, but then we lose the next three? It's gone. It's too late. It's finished. Accept it. It's just a case of Mr. Marinakis now working behind the scenes and getting what we hope is the right man in. But as everybody knows, it's always a risk. But I'd rather risk and progress than stay with what you know and stagnate. And that's what we're doing.
Any points anyone wants to rebuttal Anton there? Go on, Rob.
Two things. So about Marinakis being indecisive, I'm not sure I agree with everyone's sort of analysis of this situation. They seem to think, you guys seem to think that Marinakis wants him gone, but it's
that's not what we said. Well, no, that's not what we said.
Okay, so
again, you love a straw man, don't you?
Let me rephrase that in a way that I hope you'll agree with. All right, I hear, particularly from Wolverine, from his podcast, right? I get the feeling that he believes that Marinakis wants Cooper out, but it's somehow the fans are getting in the way of that. Yeah. Now, I would suggest, is it not possible that Marinakis actually likes the bloke, and that's why he's on the fence?
What's that got to do with the price of bread?
I don't think.
Well, he's his boss. He employs him, right? Look, if you had somebody that was working for you that was underperforming, but you liked them on a personal level, you would struggle to sack them. It's just human nature.
No. To be fair, I understand what he's saying. I mean, I love my mum, but I wouldn't have her as my accountant. And if she was, I would have to sack her. It'd be difficult, but I would do it.
I get what you mean, Rob. I think the thing is, for me, I think it shouldn't be looked at as Steve Cooper. It's not Steve Cooper who's the problem. It's the manager, regardless what their name is, regardless of who they are, the performances and the tactics of recent games, as I've just mentioned and as everyone else has, is the problem. It's not Steve Cooper as a person. There's nothing against him. He did a brilliant job getting us promoted, and everyone will always be thankful for that.
He's a nice guy.
But in the last few months, especially, the performances and the results, regardless of whether you take away the name Steve Cooper, are just not good enough.
Right. So can I carry on with the Marinakis point, if I may?
Sure.
So I used the word brinkmanship earlier, and I think that this is Marinakis's personal style. I mean, look at the Johnson going to Spurs thing. It was sorted out at 10 to midnight, and then Sangari was signed at 5 to midnight. Right. That is how the man works. Right. So if I can sum up yesterday, the players were like, "Shit, we've got to play well, or Cooper gets sacked." Right. So Marinakis is thinking, "Great, don't take the pressure off them. If that gets them to play well on Friday, let's leave it right in that stew pot. Let's leave the situation exactly the same. And then maybe they'll turn up on Friday and think, shit, we got to play well or Cooper gets sacked." Because after all, if he says, yeah, I'm keeping Cooper to the end of the season, come what may, I'm going to give him a 10-year contract. If he says that, suddenly the pressure's off the players. So I think that is his personal style. He is using the pressure that creates, and he can see that pressure got the team to play better yesterday. And I think he's using it to get a repeat performance on Friday. I think that's just how he operates. And a lot of very successful business people work in that way.
Rob, Wolverine made a point on his earlier video. If Marinakis backs Cooper 100% to the hills and we go and lose the next 5 games, he's going to look like
Yeah, I agree. I did agree with that. Yeah, obviously, if he gives him unconditional support and then we get thrashed, then he can't sack him. So there's partly that, but I think that I feel like he's trying to use the energy that last chance saloon kind of situation creates. I think that is how he works.
Yeah, but Rob, where does that stop? Where does that stop?
Yeah.
So you're saying Marinakis put the pressure on this.
I'm not confusing. I'm
Let me
explaining.
add the scenario. So he's put that under pressure scenario in yesterday and thought, oh shit, that kind of worked. We got a point. Let me do it again on Spurs. Let me do it again, Bournemouth. Where does it stop? That's not how you run a football club. There's no way Marinakis is thinking like that. That's just illogical on every level.
Why are we over-egging that fucking performance yesterday? We were shit, mate. We were shit.
I agree with you. I agree with you, but I'm talking about the narrative here now, man. I'm talking about the narrative.
No, I know. I'm just talking in general that people keep going on about his performance yesterday as if we were playing beautiful, fantastic, attacking, flowing football and we won 4-0. No, we low blocked to 1-0 against a very underperforming Wolves.
We were wasteful
it was shit.
in possession.
And which of these players, Rob, that are playing for Cooper now? You mean our third choices? Well, of course they're playing for him because they want to have a game, mate.
Did you watch the game?
I did. Of course, I watched the game.
Right. Okay. So I can't understand how we're able to see two totally different games. I thought it was a massive contrast with the Fulham game.
No, it was a contrast with the Fulham game. We were even shitter against Fulham. Doesn't mean we weren't shit yesterday.
We were wasteful,
shit, man.
We were wasteful.
Tell me about our free-flowing football. Tell me how we passed the ball around and worked our way up the pitch and put the ball in and got a good. Tell me about it.
I think we won a lot more duels yesterday.
So what?
Watch the footage back.
Yeah, but Rob, it's not
we were losing again.
Fuck all.
Who cares?
It'll get you the odd draw. It ain't going to get you up that table. I'm telling you now.
All right, let's go back to the
that's what we're relying on. That's what we're relying on. Players playing for the manager. God help us. Because the only players that are playing for this manager are our third choice, and they're not good enough.
And he doesn't think they're good enough.
I will back Rob a bit on that point. As I said earlier, I think in the second half, we did play quite well. And again, in the first 15 minutes, I've already said...
standards are so low, mate. Honestly.
I know, but we played better than the last few matches, didn't we? We looked better. But he had to put a lineup out who are not on paper our best team to get that, to basically get them to play for him. And if he'd gone on and if we tried to score some more goals after getting that first one, then I would have been sat on here saying, you know, well done, you've made it happen, you've made it work. But unfortunately, he decided to settle back, and it kind of went as it always does.
So let me just check some stats, Ez, right? So possession-wise yesterday, 68% Wolves, 32 Forest. XG, we were higher. I can't believe it. 1.29 to 1.17.
We had chances.
Although at half-time we were 0.07. Total shots 10 to 8 in Wolves' favour. Shots on target 4 to Wolves, 2 to Forest. Accurate passes 555 from Wolves with 85% accuracy. 210 from Forest with 68% accuracy.
That was a problem.
Passing, yeah, and this is my point, Ez. The passing in the Premier League era, this new Premier League era, has been atrocious. And it still is, and it still was yesterday.
Yeah.
And you're telling me they played well?
Yeah, no, just to carry on from Crypto's point a little bit, it was better yesterday, but it couldn't have been any worse after Fulham, could it? That was an abysmal performance that night. You know, I don't know what they were doing. It looked like we were down to nine men, you know, the way they walked around us, and there was no fight. So comparing it to the Fulham game, yes, it was better, but it couldn't have been any worse. The stats don't lie. The stats really don't lie, and it's not one game, and that's a good performance. You gave stats from a good performance yesterday, you know, and the stats don't lie. So this is This is fundamentally a major reason why we are playing the way we are. Even when we have got the ball, we can't progress it. We can't keep it. We look panicked on the ball. You see the more cultured teams, even the not so cultured teams, the way they handle the ball, the way they play out from the back. If they make mistakes, it's fine. But we make mistakes. We don't take risks anyway with our passing. They're just poor passes. It's not as if the risky passes that are being cut out. They're literally A to B passes that anybody should be able to do. Any school kid should be able to do. But we struggle with.
Our best passers are sat on the bench. Sangare, etc.
Murillo.
Yeah.
Murillo's probably the best passer we've got.
Doesn't matter who we've got on the pitch.
Midfield.
To be honest, it doesn't matter who we've got on the pitch because I've seen poor performances from all of them, you know, in terms of trying to progress out of our midfield. So there's fundamental skill issues that we're struggling with. And that's down to coaching. That's down to management. That's down to showing players how to get out of tight situations. A couple of things Mangala did yesterday were absolutely fantastic, but they were isolated incidents. And a performance from one of your three midfielders, which is what we got yesterday. I agree. I think Kouyaté missed an absolute sitter. I don't think he's a great player at all. I think he just filled a hole for about 60 minutes yesterday. And I think the fact that he looked good is just shows how highlights how bad everybody else has been going into it. So I don't think anything changes for me. The stats clearly show that we're a team that can't hold on to the ball. We don't get many shots on target. So the 2 shots on target, one of them would have been the Kouyaté one, and I can't remember what the other one was. It's probably the goal. It would have been the goal, wouldn't it? Yeah. Obviously, the header that went in. But we did miss some chances yesterday, so I can see why the XG was slightly higher. Toffola's second chance, even though Elanga would have been offside anyway if he had scored that goal that hit the crossbar. But we did have chances yesterday. But Wolves were poor. Wolves were poor yesterday. If Wolves turned it on, as they have done at home, with some of the results, they beat Man City at home, didn't they? You know, they've picked up results, so they have played better than they did yesterday. So we got them on a good day for us, really.
I think that's a great point. As that point about who we played, that's being forgotten. Like in certain spheres, it's being talked about. Like we played prime Barcelona yesterday and managed to low block a draw. I'll bring you in one sec, Rob. I just want another stat for you. I don't know if any of you follow the other 14 on Twitter. They're a fantastic stat bearing machine on all the outside the big 6 one, but they do a baseline tracker. Okay. At the moment, and basically what it is that for those of you who don't know, it's a tracker that says how much plus or minus you are to getting 39 points. It's a bit more complicated than that because Big 6, etc., is taken off. But at the moment, Jimmy, if you're still here, the worst club on the tracker is minus 10 behind getting 39 points, and that's Sheffield United. The second worst club is Forest. We're minus 7. So our trajectory right now is to end up on, what's that, 32 points? My maths is right, yeah? So that in itself is a damning stat. Let me just shout out as huge super chat here from Paul, man, that's way too much. Thank you so much, bro. Do appreciate that.
Very generous, thank you.
Fans told marginally after Fulhamish game to back his manager. I heard this today. So do you think that's the reason why he's holding off sacking him, because of the back seat of the fans? We will talk about are the fans keeping... Did I freeze there? Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, no, you're fine.
You're
okay.
Yeah. Well, I promise you, Paul, I'll ask the panel that question in just a second as well. But yeah, how much fan power is there currently at Nottingham Forest? And then we've got, thank you again for the 1999. That's way too generous of you, matey. Simon Jones, thank you, Si, with the £2. Rob, so we're playing like Luton then, he says. I actually think we're playing worse than Luton.
I think so as well.
Yeah.
I like how
Luton looks decent. They've been unlucky against Arsenal and Man City, I think, in the last 2 games. And Martin with the 199. Shout out to Rob for coming on. Great entertainment, absolutely. Rob's a legend. And by the way, we're making off air, right? Yeah. So
we are actually friends, you know, people.
No, we hate him off air as well, prick.
Yeah, right.
Oh, Rob, don't see eye to eye.
That's because I'm down there, mate.
You said it.
Rob, Again, Rob, I do apologize for forcing you to come to Mark Crosley the other day. You know, we had you in handcuffs and everything. So apologies.
And making us sit with us on the front row and having drinks with us. We're sorry about that. We're
and your politician's handshake.
The ordeal. Okay. So, Rob, you wanted to come in with something.
Yeah, I want to come back on the statement. On the statement, Wolves were poor, right? So basically, that's kind of taken away.
Booed off, Rob. They got booed off.
Okay, but that's taken away from us on the basis that of how the other team played, right? Let me flip that round. I said the other day, Everton were good, right? So that applies in reverse, right? They outplayed us at our ground, but they were on a high. They're playing well at the moment, right? So I think that you need to, you can't have it both ways. Yeah. Wolves were poor, but Everton were good, right? You know, if I said to you, Everton were good the other day, you can, well, that doesn't excuse us losing. Well, no, you have to look at the opposition, but it cuts both ways. Everton were good and Brighton were good. You know, we were bad against Fulham. I don't think Fulham were world beaters. It was just because we were so bad. Obviously it takes two to tango. You've got to look at the other team. But that's why I was I was more upset with the Fulham game because we were bad. But you know, and you need to look at that Everton game and think about it again. Everton were good. And coming back to something we were discussing like 45 minutes ago, when Everton went 1-0 against us, they low blocked for the rest of the game, and it bloody well worked. Right, so
but Rob,
these arguments apply in reverse. That's all I'm saying.
You can play the Uno reverse card on that. If Wolves were crap, then why did we not try and score another goal until halfway through
the second half? We were.
Yeah, but why the second half? Why not in the 15th minute after we just scored?
Go on, both carry on that. Both be crap, can't they? One doesn't have to be good and the other one crap in every football match. They can both be good or they can both be crap. And I watched the game, and in my opinion, they were both crap.
And also, Everton could see our weaknesses. They could see we weren't coming back into that game. I genuinely think their game plan was bore the hell out of everybody for the first half. The Forest fans were quiet enough, which we did. I was as quiet as I've heard them, certainly since we've been back in the Premier League. And then get the goal and just sit back. Their game plan was perfect. They knew Forest's weaknesses and they attacked them. They didn't get out of any sort of gear against us. Everton weren't very good. We were really shit, but Everton weren't very good that night. I didn't see much from them.
I want to make a point. I don't think
we're very good. Sorry, Cooper.
I just want to make a point on the Everton match because this is kind of what I'm referring to. Everton scored in the 67th minute. Now, if you low block in the last 20 minutes or so, I can kind of understand it. Yeah. The problem is we're low blocking so early on when there's no need for it. That's my gripe with Cooper. That's my main gripe with him. I don't understand why when we go 1-0 up after 14 minutes, why can we not, if we're playing well enough to score in the first 14 minutes, why can't we just try and score again and go low block in the last 10 or 15 minutes when you can try and finish the game without conceding?
Yeah, Wolverine touched on it yesterday. Look at Bournemouth's result yesterday. When they went 2-0 up at Old Trafford, they went for the third, and that third killed the game. What did we do? We sat back and let them come at us. And even when they got one back... We
don't even go for a second, Des.
Yeah, but even when they got one back, we didn't try and change it. Even when they did get one back, we didn't try and change it, did we? We carried on hoping that the low block would do enough just to get us a point. Even from a 2-0 lead, Cooper would have been happy taking a point out of that game. Look at Bournemouth yesterday. They got the second goal, they went and got the third, they killed the game. And that is the mentality that the manager, the coach, and I don't want to just blame Cooper either, because I think his backroom staff have majorly let him down. I don't think anybody comes out of this with much credit. I don't think people will be clamoring to take hold of Tate and Yates and Reedy and all them lot off our hand.
Tate's the defensive coach, I think.
There's major problems with the backroom staff as well. He should have bought. Listen, there should have been if they were going to back Cooper, I think Marinakis would have brought in a better backroom team around him. I don't think he's going to be given that backing, and I think if and when a new manager does come in, there has to be a wholesale change. I don't think just Cooper going will be enough. I think the guys behind the scenes need
Can I
to
just make a point on Owen's question in the chat? It's not about
Mhm.
giving away possession and bad passes. It's about the whole team, all 11 of us, sitting in our own box for 30 minutes until half time. There's no
Inviting
need for
pressure.
it. You can give away passes up the pitch or in the middle of the pitch. If you give it away close to your goal, then that's even worse. But I'm not saying it's the mistakes and the passing. I'm simply saying there's no need to sit back so early on after going 1 goal up.
And it's not a one-off, Crypto.
Yep.
It's not a one-off.
Happened
It
like
happens
4 or
every
5
time.
times.
Happens every time we do that. I just want to come back to you on that Bournemouth thing, Ez. I do agree with you. They went for it. But again, to kind of hone in on the point I was making earlier, they weren't playing tick-attack of football, attacking Man U left, right, and centre. Yeah. They were playing quite counter-attacking football, but they were doing it on purpose. They literally, everyone knows, give Man U the ball, they'll mess up. Yeah. Apart from when obviously they played Forest. So again, it goes back to my point. I'm not saying you can't play counter-attacking football. What I'm saying is you can't put 11 men behind the ball and expect a Premier League team not to eventually break you down. And we saw that yesterday. We saw it in the previous match. What was the one we went up? I can't remember the previous home match. What was it that we lost? Brighton. When we went early against Brighton. We knew it was coming. Everyone knew it was coming. And that's the point. And that's the naivety I'm seeing from Cooper. Someone in the comments said he's only been a manager for 5 years and he's learning, etc. My simple argument back to that is, and what? And what? Is that our problem?
We're not a fucking kindergarten. We're not kindergarten. Let him go away, learn his fucking job, and then he can come back. At the moment, if he doesn't know his job, why the hell do I want him at my club?
Yeah.
May I? So,
you may, of course.
So, there's a lot of stats been thrown out, and I'm going to give you some stats that link to the last point. Okay. So I think we're all fans on this channel of the job that Harry Potter did at Brighton, right?
I love you called him Harry Potter.
But no, that's because you do. I'm just playing off what you call him on your. So Brighton's first season.
So disrespectful, Rob.
Right. Brighton's first season, they finished 15th. The second season, they were 17th. The third season, they were 15th.
When did Houghton come in? Which season? I can't remember.
Hang on. I'm just going through. No, it was. I think it was Houghton after 1 year. So it's 15th, 17th, 15th, 16th, 7th.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, what were we last season? 16th. Now this season we could still be anything from about 12th to 20th, right? I'm not sure where it's going to come out, but what I'm saying is that how many years was Potter given, and how much time was he given to learn his job? And you've just said, "Oh, I haven't got the patience for Cooper to learn his job."
Okay, but you're missing the stat.
No, but what I'm saying is, you want a Brighton inside of 2 years. How reasonable is that?
No, because you're missing a huge stat. Why don't you tell us the stat about how much money they spent in those years?
Oh, they've gone at it differently. I don't think we should have spent so much money. No, they have a model where they bring in players from South America and then they sell them on at big money, and that's how they balance the books, right? Brighton have got an outstanding global scouting network. They brought in the likes of Mitoma, who, what a player he is. God knows where they found him from, right? So that is how I would prefer to do it. I feel like we have tried to fast track success. We've tried to splash big cash. The recruitment has been completely scattergun. So as we were saying earlier, we've bought for 5-3-2, we've bought for 4-3-3, we've bought everything except the number of strikers that we actually need. And I think if we get an embargo in January, we could be in serious trouble, right? But I think that the money that we've spent, unfortunately, it can create an expectation that then backfires and becomes more of a hindrance than if we hadn't spent as much. I'm not suggesting
you're diverting from your point. You're diverting from your point.
Yeah.
Your point you were making was to show the slow progression that Brighton did. Yeah.
Well, hang on. 15, 17, 15, 16 on paper looks like no progress.
Okay. So well, you get what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
Rob, do you think
when I chucked in the money thing?
Style of football?
Well, one sec, Chris. When I chucked in the money thing, you contradict your point, because that's not the Forest model that we've gone for. as you
No,
said,
I wish
we're
we
trying to
was, though.
fast track it.
Well, we've kind of gone for it because we brought.
Sorry,
in,
Rob.
we
Rob,
brought
I've got
in
to ask this,
Harper
mate.
and Murillo and-
Rob, I've got to ask you, mate. That year they finished 17th. What would have happened if they'd have gone down, which they could have done? That's the difference, mate.
I'm not
I get
sure
the
where
point.
you're going with that. What I'm saying
Because
is
you said they finished 17th. We can't afford to be fucking about in the relegation zone.
okay, well,
Because we could go down.
Your point, Ant, was that we're not a kindergarten. We haven't got the time for a manager to learn his job, etc., etc. I'm just saying that 4 years, 15th, 17th, 15th, 16th, before they got to what they are now.
And I'm saying that in any of those years when they finished 15th, 16th, 17th, they could have gone down. We could go down. That's what I'm saying. They didn't. Okay, good for them. Whoopie-doo. But they could have done. Then we
I get your point now, man. Yeah, you're saying they cut it fine.
and
It
the
could have
happy-
swung either way. Go on, Ben.
The happy clappers don't care if we go down as long as Cooper's still there. He can take us down to League Two and they don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Matoma would not want to play in our team. He'd be sat back in our box. It's the same problem. It doesn't matter if you bring in all these good players. He's not going to change the style of football that he wants to play.
I would just want to progress it a little bit. Let's just say this happens. Let's say, because you're one defeat away from this change happening, Rob. So let's say that defeat happens and a change is made. There's a group of Forest fans, that's what they want to call themselves, who are adamant that any new manager coming in won't get their backing. Where do you stand on those kind of comments?
Right. I think
regardless of who the manager is.
Yeah, that is okay. That's clearly wrong. But I think that fault exists on both sides of this debate that can get rather toxic at times.
Agreed.
Right. And I don't mean to call you out, Wolverine, but I asked my best friend to start watching the podcast, and he tuned in to the Fulham one. I said, "Oh, I come on at the end." He says, "Oh, I'll watch it while I'm at work." He tuned in. The first 10 seconds of the podcast, you said the following statement: "Time's up. I want that prick gone." Right, and he literally just closed the window. He just closed the window. He didn't watch the rest of the podcast. Right, so what I'm saying is, I know that there are people who will clap Cooper whatever he does, even if that think he's beyond criticism, that would be happy if we went down, even if we kept in. Obviously, they're deluded. That's one end of the spectrum. But what I'm saying is, we need to be self-aware of how other people might see us as really quite vitriolic and negative. And, these sort of comments just inflame the situation, whether it's on both sides, whether you say happy clap.
It's not taken in context, is it, Rob? It's not taken in context.
What I'm suggesting is
we lost.
We can all play a part in sort of de-escalating the language a bit, because I think if the fan base gets more fractured and more divided about this, it doesn't. There's no happy ending to this.
So So
context.
You didn't answer my question, by the way, Mr. Politician. You didn't answer my question at all.
Go on,
skirted around it. The question was, where do you stand on that? Is that an acceptable thing to say?
Not. The club
but you wouldn't back the new managers because he's not Steve Cooper, or
no,
because
that would be. Look, people will back the new manager if we get good results. I don't think anybody means that. And who's actually said that? Who actually said that?
I think
people say their season ticket up. There is. I mean, it's not. I wouldn't say it's a faction.
Yeah.
But there's emotions, I would say, behind it. Yeah. Just like when I called Cooper a prick, it was 5 minutes after we'd lost 5-0.
Yeah, I understood that in context. It's a good job I wasn't on. I might have used stronger language because I was
exactly.
so.
If anyone tells me they haven't called someone an effing this or a pricking this at the football stadium when they've done wrong, I've said it to freaking Brian Roy back in the probably not when I was a kid, but my dad would have slapped me. But you know what I'm saying? It's like in the heat of the moment. Don't tell me language like this isn't used in the grounds and in the heat of the passion and what have you.
I got annoyed with Jensen for saying that people that were anti-Cooper weren't proper Forest fans. That really annoyed me. So it's on both sides. But what I'm saying is we can all dial it down a bit. That's all
the problem is, Rob, people have taken it too far. They've got badges printed out, which they're sewing into their jackets with Cooper in. They've got ties with Cooper printed on it. It's Cooper FC. It's got to the point where whatever he does, he will be backed. If we win if we lose the next 15 games and gets relegated, they'll be singing his name at the end of every match because they don't care. All they think about Steve Cooper is pure sentimental. He got us promoted. What's the point of getting us promoted if he's going to get us fucking relegated?
I agree.
You know what?
That
As
would
well,
undo everything that he
it does
did.
make me laugh. It does make me laugh how certain sections tend to cause toxic weather. Does anybody watch any other podcasts from other clubs? Have they looked at some of the Man U podcasts and some of the Chelsea podcasts? Man, we are so mild in comparison. Honestly, our fan base is so sensitive. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. When Wolfie said that prick, he was being called out all over the shop. My God, compared with some of the other channels, it's crazy.
And I'm not going to change. Part of what we do on here is to be honest and raw and say what we're thinking. I could feel, I don't know, Morgan Gibbs is the greatest player on the earth today, and tomorrow I think he's crap. I don't care. That's my raw emotion.
Can we just
Jem? Listen, when I go down the City Ground, I support my club. I don't care who, what, or whatever. I will always support my club at the City Ground. That doesn't mean that away from the City Ground, I can reflect and have a different feeling about things. I would never, ever boo Steve Cooper down the City Ground. Why would I do that? I want my team to win.
That doesn't even make sense. That doesn't even make sense. 3,000 loyal away fans, supporters can't all be wrong. So if those 3,000 fans thought that the Earth was flat, they'd be right, would they? Doesn't make sense.
No, but we know at least one. We know at least one inside that is not. So 2,999.
Yeah, I was just going to say there were groups of Forest fans who've been down to these last few away games and have felt alienated because they didn't want to join in with the Cooper songs when we're 5-0 down. They didn't think that was appropriate, but they were made to feel.
It's not even that. From minute 0 to minute 90, I don't care if Cooper's in charge or goddamn freaking Margaret Thatcher. Yeah, that's Forest. I want the result. After the game, I'll have my say. Yeah. Now, when I'm doing it on a watch along, obviously I'm not at the ground. It's different. I can say what I feel because the players can't hear me. But at the ground, I don't get this whole thing about you have to speak like this, you have to speak like this, and you have to speak like this, but you can't speak like this. Where's the logic in it? One, if you don't like what someone says, don't listen to them, or don't speak to them, or don't befriend them. And secondly, wouldn't that reflect back on you that if you're telling people to say that, that would mean that you need to hold yourself to those same rules?
One of the things I've noticed is that let's, for example, say that as for a Cooper out, we invite people like yourselves on, Rob, to give your opinion, and we welcome the opinions in the chat. We don't block opinions, etc., etc. The other side, we just get abuse from. We just get pure abuse. If we say Cooper out, we are abused in the comments. We're abused on Twitter.
Yeah.
Whereas we let people have their own opinion. That's the difference.
Rob, we don't censor you when you come on here. You're free to say what we'll argue back. We do the call in.
Just don't call Ez a prick. Just don't call Ez.
Very funny, very funny, very funny. But like, if you look at the call in yesterday, I think Simon F said it yesterday. Why was I being so neutral about it? Because one, these are people from the audience that are coming in who aren't probably used to an open event. I think the one we did last week had over 1,000 in there. Yeah. And it's like, you want to make them feel comfortable enough to share their point. I'm not going to have a mass debate with them on there or really nitpick, like, you know what I'm saying? Or nitpick how weird Ez's argument or Ant's or Rob's or Crypto's. And that's the whole thing. So there's a time and a place for certain debates. I remember when we did the Mark Crosley thing on Thursday, someone asked him if he was backing the manager. They asked Crosley. And then they came up to me afterwards, like, Wolverine, why didn't you say you were Cooper out? I was like, did you ask me the question or Crosley?
Or did you ask Mark?
It's not it wasn't an audience with Wolverine. So there's a time and a place for everything. But the whole point of this grumpy old Reds is that anyone can say what they want, but you will be scrutinized on your points. And if the panel feels Cooper out heavy or bad performance heavy, I will try to put the opposing view as best I can to poke at them to see what the other one is. But anyway, let's forget all the politics behind it. Let's get back to the key thing. Let's look ahead to Spurs now and this week coming up. And as far as you're concerned, is Cooper going to make it to Friday? And if he does, what do you think happens?
Yeah, I think he'll make it till Friday. I think he'll probably play a similar, or if not the same team, with similar, if not the same tactics. And I think we'll get hammered. And then we'll have a whole new debate, won't we?
Yeah. But what if he wins that?
And listen, I want Forest to win 5-0, especially against Spurs. I always want my team to win. There's no agenda. There's no anti-Steve Cooper agenda for me. It's purely, whether I think he's the right manager or not. Nothing to do with personality, nothing. And if he wins 5-0 on Friday, he plays attacking football, fantastic.
If Cooper beats Spurs, beats Bournemouth, draws of Newcastle, draws of Man U, are you Cooper in or out in that scenario?
People won't like this, but it does depend on how we got those results. I know people won't like that because, it's results business and all that lot, but
yeah, offense.
I have to see something that's sustainable. It's got to be sustainable. If we low block our way and have a couple of lucky wins, that's not enough for me. Like yesterday, all these people masturbating on how brilliant we were. No, we were shit. We were shit and we got a 1-1 draw. So what? Against a poor Wolves side. So what? Makes no difference. So there's got to be something I can see with my eyes, that there's progression and positivity and something for me to believe in. And at the moment, I'm sorry, I just don't believe anymore. I think people may know, I said last season I didn't give a shit. Let's just stay up. And I said, but this season I need to see something different. And what I saw yesterday at Wolves was not different. It was the same old crap, scraping to a 1-1 draw against a poor side. So no, it's got to be more than just a result. I'm not that reactionary. Oh, we won 1-0, so therefore we're great. Oh, we lost 1-0, so therefore we're shit. No, you watch the game, don't you? And you see how we're playing. If you can see something for the future. And at the moment, I'm not believing.
I'm going to ask you the same question next, Crypto. Jan, lovely to have you on yesterday. Thank you for, I believe that's Swedish krona.
Swedish krona.
40 Swedish krona, yeah.
Thank you so much, bro. That's way too generous of you. And again, thank you for jumping on yesterday. Why you all laughing at what Ben said? What's he said? The best comment I saw was, even if Cooper was shagging their wife, there would be some fans sad at the end of the
Absolutely. That is absolutely true. In fact, I have heard that said on another podcast.
What the fuck? Ben, over to you. What happens this week? What happens against
I mean, after watching the Spurs match today, I think that we'll lose. The problem I've got is that I can hear it now, Friday evening, people saying, "Well, it's Spurs. We weren't really expecting us to beat Spurs, were you?" So I think against Spurs, it will be based on the performance. If we were to attack and get us some decent shots on goals and have a proper go at them and lose, 1-0, it wouldn't actually bother me that much. But if we sit back and do the same again and just, I don't think we'll get battered because of the low block 5 at the back. I don't think we're going to get beat, like we did at Fulham. But if we sit back again and just invite all that pressure and we lose 2-0, it's going to be so frustrating, because that is literally the future of this football club under Cooper if that happens. If he does the opposite and he goes for it and we lose, then I don't actually mind that. I just want to see us try and actually get some wins out of the games instead of kind of give up after 10 minutes.
Yeah. Sharky with another £2. Sharky, that butler, you're keeping him busy tonight, mate. Thank you so much for the £2. Thanks, FFTV boys. And also shout out to Rob. Respect. See, Rob, you're winning them over, man. You should run for election again. We'll get you some votes.
4.9%.
Rob, let me ask you the same question, but in a different spin. Should we be looking forward to this Spurs match? Because in essence, they play a bit similar to Villa, don't they, with that high line? And is that like catnip for Cooper potentially on Friday?
Well, I mean, I'm looking forward to it, but I'm also nervous about it because it's an extremely high stakes game. I think that Cooper will be in charge for it and he will pick the same team. In terms of the outcome, I don't want to sound like Chris Hughton, but it's going to be fine margins. I don't think anyone is going to be thrashing anybody in that game. I think and if it comes down to some bloody VAR thing that one side is moaning about, that is probably the worst possible outcome, although very likely.
Yeah, because then we'd have to hear Cooper go on about it.
Yeah, I know, exactly. We would be going on about it. The interesting thing, I've just looked on BBC. So before thrashing Newcastle today, Spurs had actually taken 1 point in 15, which is as bad as us. So
Same as
the
myself.
question is, who's on bad form? Who's on the worst form? I don't actually know. It's totally unpredictable. It's going to be Friday night under the lights on Sky Sports. It's going to be a fantastic game. I'm very nervous about it just because of the stakes involved. I think any result is possible, and I will hope we're all discussing it next Sunday with smiles on our faces. Smiley old Reds.
Mate, this one's huge for me because as the chat know, me and my
Yes.
We
brother.
need Yatesy on. We need Yatesy on.
Yeah, we need Yatesy on because he talks a lot of
I'd
dribble in
love
the
Yatesy
chat.
to come on.
Because none of us said we need to go all out attacking against Spurs. None of
No,
us said
no,
that.
I was just saying I don't want to low block. It's not. I don't mean go all out
People,
attack.
you're right. You're right.
We
Ben.
cannot
Crazy.
leave. We cannot leave a lot of
People
room.
don't
behind
understand the
defence.
difference between low block and a back five.
And
The back five
counter-attacking.
can be quite
I'll
aggressive.
give you the perfect example, Yatesy, if you're watching. I don't know if you looked at the Luton game today. When they went 1-0 up, they sat back a bit, but every player was still outside their box. Our players sit back inside our box. We don't need to go so low.
We can't leave space behind that defence, though. If they play Johnson, we cannot leave space because Johnson's going to win a foot race with Bolly, probably Niakate, and maybe not Murillo. Yeah. So I don't want. So I actually
Not Aina.
Well, I know, but I think that. Well, yeah, all right, but I think the problem is that for that particular opponent with that particular player, I honestly the script is that Johnson's going to score and get Cooper sacked. Right, that is the script for that game. We are not going to leave space behind that defence.
Where's your head at, Rob? You've already pre-planned that one.
Well,
Yeah.
something exciting is going to happen, whatever. But I mean, let's remember last year we lost 2-0 against Spurs at home. We said we played well. I would take a 1-1, quite honestly. We have to stop losing at home. We have lost our last 2 games at home. That's totally unacceptable.
All right, Ez, what are your thoughts on this one? Do you see this one being a rabbit, potentially a Villa-style rabbit, or do you think Spurs are coming back into form after how well they played today?
Yeah, I think they are coming back into form, actually. The way they played today was slightly different to how they have been setting up, because Son was played out on the left with Richarlison through the middle. And I think they've got a lot to offer, and they're relentless. That's for one thing. They don't give up. They keep coming at you. And I don't think we have got the stamina, the ability, or the quality to really put up with that. We will be low block. That's the best way to play against their high block. But if we could just use a little bit of nous, we could easily get through them. We could easily break through their high block, if we had the tactics right. But Cooper won't play like that. Cooper will sit back and just hope for damage limitation. I don't see us getting anything out of that game. I think they'll come and beat us. And I don't think it changes anything in my thought process whatsoever. So I said this to Wolfie last night. I kind of went into this game yesterday without too much expectation and too much riding on the game for me, because in my head the decision's been made. It's just a matter of time. And again, going back to not wanting us to lose, but not really caring about it yesterday. And it felt better, to be honest. I'm sick of the way we play and the way we perform affecting my mood, my weekend, and everything else like that. I don't want to get. Unfortunately, because we've got this channel, not unfortunately, but we've got the channel, but unfortunately, we have to give our opinions. And sometimes it's raw, and sometimes it's straight off the bat. And sometimes you look back and think, maybe I don't agree with what I said, but I'm not going to change my feelings on it, because my main thought is this cult. I want this cult broken. I want the Cooper cult broken. I want us to get back to being just Forest fans, not Cooper ins, Cooper outs, Cooper shake it all about. I just want us to be Forest fans. And the best way for that to happen is for this cult to be broken. And that's what I want more than anything else.
Yeah. For me, this one's huge, man. 2 biggest games for me in the Premier League are Spurs and Man U for obvious reasons. Yeah. I haven't been fired up for a Forest game for the last 2 weeks. I can feel it now because I've already had messages from my brother saying looking forward to the 3 points on Friday. Jono incoming, but they don't rate Jono out. They're not rating Jono.
Yeah, no.
At Spurs.
Well, I don't. I don't either. So let's move on. You know what? It's really sad indictment. But for the last few games, I've not really given a shit about the match. I've not been looking forward to the games. I paid me 50 quid and go down there in the freezing cold. But I'm not excited. because it's like we're in a holding pattern at the moment. We know that Steve Cooper's going to go. We know that. So we're in a holding pattern. And it's just like, oh, it's dragging on another week. Oh, it's dragging on another week. What if we beat them? What? So what? You know, it doesn't matter. We need to move on this. We need to get moving forward on this. At the moment, we're just stagnant. We're just waiting and waiting and waiting. And the match against Wolves was a prime example of that. We did that team 2 weeks ago. Nobody on this panel would have picked that team because they are the second string team. Apart from a few, I thought Mangala was wonderful. That double Maradona tour, wow, fantastic.
And the layoff as well. You know,
and the layoff as well. It was stupid. That shows you what that guy can do. He's been great all season, in my opinion. But apart from the odd little cameo like that, I thought Nico Williams as well looked fantastic. You know, he's a wing back. Give him a chance as a wing back, and he can play. That boy can play. And I tell you what, he's got some energy. He won't stop running. He won't stop tackling. But that was probably about as much as I can get out of that game. But as I say, main thing is I am not. And you know, this game against Spurs, I would be flying. Couldn't wait. You know, now it's just like, well, let's see what happens because it's all about Cooper. It's not about Forest anymore. It's about Cooper.
I sold my ticket, mate.
That's the point.
Did you sell it? Yeah. Don't blame me, mate. Honestly, it's
that is. I think that's the point I want to finish this off with here. It's becoming all about Cooper rather than Forest. Yeah. And I think, and again, I'll go back to the initial point from the video today. This is why we need to know one way or the other. If Marinakis comes out tomorrow and says Cooper's here till the end of the season, you know, and basically shut the fuck up if you disagree kind of thing, then fine. That's where we are. But right now, it is, as Ant says, all about the Cooper debate, isn't it?
That was what was so good about the Crossley event the other night. We all said it afterwards, didn't we? Isn't it great to spend 2 hours talking about something else? Crossley punching Pierre Van Hooydonk. That was quality entertainment. And we all forgot about Cooper for 2 hours. And it was like, back to reality now. Back to reality.
Back to the pain.
If people think that we want to come on here moaning and discussing about Cooper over and over and over again, they're mistaken. We want to come on here and talk about our team.
Yeah, I want to be positive about my team. Yeah. I want to be. I really do want to be. I don't want to be.
I was positive about our team, so that's 1 out of 5.
There you go.
Rob was positive before he started coming on here.
I miss being a happy clapper. I miss those good old days. Yeah. Okay, let's wrap it up. I don't know how we've done an hour and a half. It's flown by like that. Apologies to everyone in the chat for keeping you in here so long. We'll be back tomorrow with a video on FFTV as always. I hope you've enjoyed the debate, and I hope you understand that whatever side of whatever debate to do with Nottingham Forest you are, your views and opinions are always welcome here, and we will always listen to them. Yes, we will argue them back if we don't agree with them, and we will back them if we do agree with them. This is football. I think people forget none of us here are Pep Guardiola's, man. None of us here could manage a Premier League team. But all of us here have an opinion, as should all of you. And Jimmy, I'm giving you hell tomorrow on Beat the Drum. Just wait. You get neutrality.
Can I just?
You keep it up, son.
Can I just make one more point?
Of course.
Whoever presses the play button for Mulligan Tyre tomorrow, don't mess it up, please.
Yeah. Friday.
Friday, not tomorrow.
Carl, there's another one for your tweet right there. Okay, and then I had one more thing. Oh yeah, hit that like button if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new. We'll see you tomorrow. Come on, you Reds.
You Reds.